Alright, Zawa, it's about time that we tackled how the hell we're gonna level you up. A philosopher from the Ixomatl Plains is how he's described, of the Savannah folk. At this point, we're like overdue to deal with this. Oh god. I keep forgetting about this entire aspect of leveling characters, basically. Hard to remember, like, what I even want to have. I mean, if you loop around to, like, level 6 on survival, then he could have 2 damage reduction or something like that, which would just be kind of handy for a guy that's going to be running around with no weapons, getting really messed up all the time. Or it could be yet another athletics character. I don't know. We can always reshuffle it if I'm not happy, I guess. Okay. So, talents. Lesser wounds. Lowers the monk's wound threshold, allowing him or her to regain wounds at a faster rate. -2 wound threshold. I gotta double check what he's got. Context. What does he start with? Second wind. So by default, his only ability is Torment's Reach. Requires 1 wound. Whatever it is, whatever it costs to get a wound. Melee only. Speed average. It creates a cone. Exploits the shared bonds of universal suffering between all beings. The initial target is hit with a powerful blow that does additional crush damage. Enemies in a cone behind the target suffer crush damage and have their might reduced. Ooh. Neat. So it's a full attack that attacks with both hands and does half the damage as crush. It says user full attack. Foe AoE. I feel like the phrasing's confusing again. Because it says the AoE, like the text here says the AoE is 2 might loss. And then the only damage is said that it's the user? But I guess once it's user full attack, that means that it's the user using a full attack and that does damage. But usually they repeat the damage within the AoE text to explain that that it also is going to go in the AoE. But going by the text, it looks like they take the crush damage. Ah. This isn't half the damage as crush, this is 50% bonus damage as crush. So I think that means this damage hits everybody, but then 50% more damage hits the main target. Anyway, that's the basic attack. It's an attack cone that reduces enemy might. And our starting choices are Lesser Wounds, which is the wounds are easier to get, and Mortification of the Soul. The monk immediately inflicts enough raw damage on himself or herself to gain a wound. Ah, so it'll immediately do damage themselves. Let's see. I wonder if I can get an explanation of how wounds work. When a monk takes damage from any source after damage reduction, the number is also added to a wound counter. The counter reaches a certain threshold, 10 by default. The monk receives a point in the wound resource. They can then use these wounds to power special abilities or gain passive bonuses. If they're not used immediately, wounds can accumulate until a certain point, 10, not by default, after which they cannot gain new wounds. Wounds will also disappear at the end of combat and after a certain time, 20 seconds, affected by intelligence, if not used. That's more to go on. So it gives you something to consider, I suppose. So increasing his damage reduction slows his wound generation, but at the same time you still need to keep him alive, so it's a bit of a back and forth. 3 times per rest, just give himself a wound. Interesting. I'm genuinely curious. He has two weapons, which are his fists, because it says crush damage plus crush damage, like it does a full attack. So that means that they count as separate weapons. I don't know if that counts as two weapon style, though, is the concern. Huh. That's worth considering. I don't know, for now I think I want to have the wounds generate faster. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. Okay. We have swift strikes. The monk's hands become a frenzied blur of attacks, increasing their attack rate for a brief period. So spend one wound to get 25% increased attack speed for 10 seconds. Turning wheel. The monk is able to channel physical pain into pure energy and redirect it at his or her attackers. While the monk has wounds, he or she adds a proportional fire damage to melee attacks. 5% burn damage per wound. So if you have 10 wounds, which is the normal cap, that's 50% bonus damage as fire. Which is interesting. You really have to build it up, though, and not be spending your wounds to make the percentage matter, though. Because by going by your default amount of damage, that 5% is like 1 damage. Long stride. Intense practice and years of study enabled the monk to move with confident fluidity in battle. During combat, the monk's movement rate is significantly increased. That's interesting. I'm not a big movement tech character. I think I'd find them mostly overwhelming, but it's worth considering. At least it's interesting that it's there, I suppose. Force of Anguish. Powerful attack that knocks the target back a significant distance if the attack is successful. The target bumps others out of the way and bounces off hard surfaces like walls before ending up prone. Wow. How anime. Having them bouncing off of walls and stuff like that as they go down the hallway. Huh. 7-meter push. Yeah, that's a lot of push. That's actually a pretty huge push. And then prone for 10 seconds, so just delete somebody from the fight for a while. Otherwise, it's kind of a normal attack. Uses 2 wounds. I'm gonna go back. I think I'm gonna go back on my old rogue gameplay. I used to be a rogue raider in World of Warcraft during like Burning Crusade, the first expansion, and attack speed was the core. Like damage over back then, it was also damage over time and stuff like that. But like just pure attack speed was often way more important to overall damage dealt than just having like a few flashy moves. Hopefully that'll be worth it. We're back here. So this was here before. I'm not sure if I don't love this one. The self-damage thing. I don't know. Especially that it can only be used 3 times per rest. That means that if you're relying on it as a way of generating wounds, you still can only use it 3 times per rest. So it doesn't seem that amazing. I don't know how much health he has, but if he has like 150 health, for example, then, or endurance, I guess, then like 150 endurance would be like 15 wounds worth of health. So like this thing being used 3 times per rest seems kind of weak. Lightning strikes energizes the monk's swift strikes, causing anyone hit by the attack to take additional shock damage. Ah. I think swift strikes is what I just bought. So now you can augment swift strikes to then take bonus shock damage. So now on top of 25% attack speed, they're also taking 25% more damage. So that's like this is just a surprise outcome. Like, when you're picking that skill, you have no idea that there's going to be a talent that pops up specifically to do that to that, but it's a good bonus to stumble into, I guess. We made it there, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 7. So now I should have access to like a higher damage reduction tier. Probably worth it. After that point, probably some athletics points. Second wind has value for him. I don't know if I can even make it to the next tier of damage reduction necessarily. I don't know if I'd really trust that. So we had turning wheel before. Long stride. Intense practice and years of study enable the monk to move with confident fluidity in battle. During combat, the monk's movement rate is significantly... I just read that already. Whoopsie. Stunning blow. A head targeting strike designed to disrupt enemies' ability to react. Enemies hit by a successful attack are stunned. Ah. That's not bad. So twice per encounter, he can stun somebody for 3 seconds. And it causes interrupt. I mean, a stun would cause interrupt regardless. I like stuns. Clarity of agony. Through pain, the monk is able to cleanse his or her body, reducing the duration of incoming existing hostile effects by half. Per rest abilities bum me out. Also, his tattoos are 100% symmetrical. Huh. They definitely drew one side of them and then flipped them. Because they completely match. There's all hostile effects have reduced... Yeah, have reduced duration for 10 seconds. But only occasionally usable. Force of Anguish. Powerful attack that knocks the target back a significant distance if the attack is successful. That's the one we saw before. Soul Mirror. Calls upon the power of the monk's psyche, reflecting half of ranged missiles targeting only the monk back to their point of origin. Only attacks resulting in a miss have a chance to be reflected back. Huh. That's just really interesting. So half of all incoming ranged attacks that are specifically targeting him, that means the equivalent of like a magic missile or an arrow, something that's specifically targeting him and not an AoE attack. If it misses, it has a 50% chance of going right back to its target and hitting them. That could be very cool. I'm pretty torn between that and Stunning Blow. It's worth noting Stunning Blow does not require him to have wounds. It's an ability he can use to get a stun twice per encounter, which is more stuns is always good. Anything that makes a bunch of different people stop doing stuff for a while just generally gives us a good edge. So when him and Eder and the Paladin are all using their abilities at the beginning of a fight to just stop the enemy from doing anything for a while, or just dishing out big damage at the beginning, that takes a few of them out usually, and then the fight's just easier from that point forward. But this is so cool. Although it's hard to say that people will be targeting him and then also missing with ranged attacks. It's cool though. So many enemies are melee though. I feel like I need the stun. Just part of who I am. Mortification of the soul. The monk immediately inflicts enough raw damage on himself to gain a... Yeah. I don't know why I read that out again. Would I need to make up... Yeah. Let's see, is this where unarmed is? Because it's peasants? Yep. If I want 6 accuracy, weapon-focused peasants the place to go. Which if I'm going for raw attack speed, then I also would want some accuracy. It's just 6 is so small. I'm gonna do once over all the generic talents again, just to see if there's anything else that stands out to me, because that can be a big deal. Can confirm. 2-weapon style does work, apparently, for the dual-wielding hands of a monk. That's how it's categorized. Good thing to confirm, because 20% attack speed is pretty good, especially to stack with 25% from his ability that also has a lightning. There's a lot of good stuff happening there. So we're gonna go with that. Oh god. This is getting longer. And they're not in order by unlocked rate. I don't think they are. Crucible of Suffering. The monk gains temporary insight through endurance, gaining a temporary bonus to fortitude, reflex, and will whenever a hostile effect expires. What? Huh. I mean, that's interesting. So just every time any hostile effect ever expires passively on this character, he gets 10 to his saves, except for deflection. Force of Anguish. There's the knockback one again. Duality of Mortal Presence. The monk gains 2 modal abilities that allow him or her to switch between a bonus to deflection and a bonus to all of the other defenses. Okay. So either 8 to deflection or 8 to everything but deflection. Not terrible. The Soul Mirror is the really cool one. Rooting Pain generates a shockwave around the monk each time he or she gains a wound, inflicting a small amount of damage and possibly calling an interrupt on all enemies in the area of effect. Ooh. That's interesting. So every time they gain a wound, they do a shockwave that might stop everyone from doing stuff for a bit. The Long Pain. The monk becomes capable of projecting force from his or her fists, inflicting damage at long range. Summon weapon Long Pain Fists. One, I guess you summon it twice, one for each hand, and then for 30 seconds you're just, I guess, doing long range attacks? The Long Pain Fist. Yeah, look at the long range fists. So I assume it does your normal attack damage, basically. What's the range? 12 meters. That's interesting too. How am I gonna make up my mind here? Man, there's some really good ones. Because it's like Force of Anguish. You're just knocking them clear out of the fight for a bit. But this is also another passive increase. Because with so many passives, he can just be unstoppable. But Soul Mirror is just such a cool thing. But Duality of Mortal Presence will increase the effectiveness of Soul Mirror because it makes more things miss, which then makes those things get thrown. But also I want to have an explosion around me every time. And also I want long range fists, and also I want to throw somebody out of the room. We'll get the defense bonus for now. Defense bonus. Mortification of the soul. No, I think we're not doing that right now. What was vulnerable attack again? DR bypass. Do I want to sacrifice some of that movement speed? Some of that attack speed to then attack through their fists? Because I have a lot of attack speed bonuses. You could use this to essentially, like, it's like a nullification. Like you're getting rid of the 2-weapon style bonus to then turn back around and just punch through people's armor entirely. Given that I don't have huge attack numbers of like 12 to 18 or whatever, it seems like that's a really significant increase in damage. Is my takeaway, at least. Yeah. That's probably about right. Oh, are we done? We're all done leveling him, huh? I guess we'll see how this goes. Hopefully I haven't ruined him too bad. Yeah, he only does 12 to 18 damage. What's his might at? 17? Yeah, that's near cap. I'll have to see if I can increase it. If I can find stuff that increases it. So he can do stunning blow twice per encounter. But other than that, when he gets wounds, he can do these guys. This is yeah. So here's a nice single target thing where he hits with both weapons and then destroys some people's might. But his big trick is probably this attack speed bonus. And yeah, and shock. That's a pretty good one. Alright, what's your AI set to? Yeah. I think something keeps landing on me. It's driving me crazy. Alright, so Monk uses Swift Strikes or Torment's Reach at the first opportunity, uses Clarity of Agony whenever subjected to a hostile status effect within a duration over 5 seconds, uses Stunning Blows whenever possible. That makes sense. Or Disruptor. Behaves as aggressive, but prioritizes spellcasters and characters with low deflection, and will break engagement to do so. Interesting. He has an AI that's specific. Breaking engagement to do so is a little scary, just because I feel like he might be in deep shit when that happens. But going after people with low deflection and stuff like that means that his AI will kind of wander off to take care of vulnerable targets, which could be a really good thing to have for him. That could be interesting. We'll see how that pans out. Save. We've been going for a bit there. Alright. One new character once again established. As we do. Oh, bunch of stuff all triggered for him just now.
Zawa is ready.
Which part of his character makes him do... God, it's really standing out to me how noticeable that voice actor is. Because now I'm playing Monster Hunter. And I'm funnily enough, I'm playing the Ice expansion of Monster Hunter, Iceborne. At the same time I'm playing this. And yeah, the commander in Monster Hunter is the same voice actor as Zawa, doing the same voice. Where they're speaking very clearly. And all that. It's just the same... It's just the same freaking voice. Alright, yeah, he currently has no gear at all, so we'll see if I can fix that before I leave. For now, let's go ahead and talk to people and stuff. We've already been doing this for like 25 minutes, I think. It'll get longer every time a new character joins, because they'll be higher level. Hooray.
They gone? Have those nasty brutes finally left?
Why would you be the one that goes... Okay. These teeth have been sanded smooth in preparation for carving.
I heard the ogres outside, tearing down walls and murdering folk. Don't remember how things got this bad.
The elderly woman needs her hands. These knuckles are swollen. Her knuckles are swollen knobs, and her palms are ridged with calluses that scrape and rasp as she rubs them together.
But you're the new adventurer. Renengild's latest volunteer.
She squints at you, leaning precariously forward on her wobbling legs.
A real spitfire, she told me. Bet you'd whip those layabouts at the mine into shape.
I'd like to ask you about something.
Did you say something, dear?
Tell me about yourself.
Me? I was the overseer at the mine, back when it was running. Got shut down decades ago when we couldn't sell or ship the stuff. But I still remember plenty about the mining business. And I got as many folk as I can digging out the entrance.
She taps her head, a spotted dome under a thinning thatch of hair.
Been praying to the salty wench that I don't forget too much before they finish the job.
That's all.
Got to speak up? My hearing ain't what it was.
That was brief. I gotta remember, was there a reason I wanted to go in there? It was a different session. I positioned myself for this place, but it might have just been because it was the next building I hadn't been in yet. I think that's all it was. Riding Guild, Tiana, Gref's Rest, Thrice. I don't think I've been to Thricex yet, or the Temple of Andra. Kind of started over here because this is where we fought. Technically, I don't think I've even been to the Fishery yet. I think I just met our companion outside. Welcome to the building that had 7 more companions. That's right, they're all here. Get ready for some talking.
We should check the barrels for more crazy
Back to work,
monks.
everyone. No time for dallying.
We should check the barrels for more crazy monks. Thanks, Adair. Grind. His name's Grind.
A fine thing you reached us when you did. They would have burned the fishery next, mark my words.
He wraps your hand in a sturdy handshake.
And the last thing this lot needs is another excuse to knock off early.
He raises his voice at the last remark. I don't know why it tripped me so hard. He raises his voice at this last remark and glowers around the room. The other fisherfolk look studiously away and focus on mending nets, gutting fish, and sorting the day's catch. I can't imagine why they'd be in any hurry. He looks as if he's trying not to breathe.
Anyway, excuse the mess. If there's something you need, the clerk can get you sorted.
He raises a graying eyebrow at a man sorting various stocks and supplies near the back of the room.
Just watch your step if you've a mind to look around. The floors are slick and none too pleasant to fall on.
I've got questions about the fishery.
Been running it 4 decades now. I reckon I can tell you what you want to know.
Seems like a big operation.
It may stink of fish guts, but there's no place more critical to Stalwart's survival.
He nods, a blush of pride rising above his beard.
Herds come and go, so there's seasons when our catch sustains the village.
He glances around the fishery, bustling with activity and warm with the heat of cookfire.
But try telling these folk as much. We go home each day covered to the elbows in fish oil and entrails, reeking of our work.
His eyes soften with the gaze of a stern but loving father. Eloth forces a smile. Charming.
Stalwart's shrinking, but it would disappear if we lost the fishers. I drive him hard, but I can't afford to do otherwise.
What do you do here?
Just about everything. I track the day's catches and see that our nets and hooks are in working order.
He crosses his arm over his broad chest, throwing his shoulders back.
My family's been in charge of the fishery since the early days of Stalwart. I know the best spots to find frost dive or an iron-toothed pike, and I make sure we don't overfish the speckleback.
That's all I wanted to know.
Need anything else?
Very well. Yeah, it really seems like the expansion's just fully voiced, which is almost jarring compared to the main game, because like we have companions that are all not fully voiced hanging out with me in the fully voiced expansion. Should be a good sign for Deadfire though, which I'm sure I'll get to eventually. Probably not right after this one, because I imagine we might not even be halfway done and we're already pretty far in. I wasn't expecting anyone to come by the fishery for a while. Guess that's the proper way to go about it, really. Carry on like it's business as usual. Can I get you anything? Okay, so never mind about it fully voiced, but a lot of it's voiced at the very least. Let me see what you have. Of course. Ring of Overseeing. 10 ability area of effect, just for all abilities. That's pretty okay for an item that's not very expensive. Whoop. An ivory worm figurine. Summons 2 worms once per rest. We're good on camping. It's really the main thing. Might want that ring though. Whoa. How many identical swords can I possibly have in my inventory? Look at this shit. What do I do with all these? Didn't think I'd have that much. But it surprised me a bit. Just so many swords. These roasting fish provide much of the pungent odor permeating the fishery.
Sure.
Azaro just keeps coming back, huh? How many times does he come by? Yeah. Sagani's still gonna be gone for like 3 more days. +1 dexterity gloves. Not cheap. Down on his luck, farmer named Girgis found these gloves on the way to Balereach. Coveting the wealth of his neighbors, he found that the gloves allowed him to steal whatever he desired. In time, his ill-gotten gains were discovered, and he fled the city with a mob at his heels. Panicked, Gyargs ran into the Bale Marsh, but his pursuers easily followed his tracks. An archer shot him as he attempted to swim across the Bale River. When Gyargs' body was pulled from the water, his gloves were sent to the authorities at Defiance Bay for safekeeping. However, a skilled thief later pilfered the gloves and prudently disappeared without a trace. Made of soft velvet, both gloves feature cryptic embroidery. An orb that looks like both the sun and an open eye decorates the right glove, while the left features something that could be either a crescent moon or a closed eye. Yeah. I'll grab them up. It's those scary temporary items that might disappear at any moment. Oh yeah. Berold successfully arrived at Thane Bog with the help of Hiraves. So that worked out. But Azaro is still a work in progress. Don't want to miss out on those kinds of items if I can avoid it. I'm sure there's someone who can use it. I mean, at this point I just have so many damn companions that somebody's going to have an open glove slot and not have a dexterity bonus yet. Preferably even somebody who benefits from dexterity. Yeah. Which, I mean, technically, I think everyone benefits from every stat. Just some of them lean on them harder. Maneha. Someone's standing out here.
Huh, that's what I get for asking directions in the middle of nowhere. Say, I don't suppose you've seen any mysterious old buildings in the mountains lately, have you?
I was joking. I was joking. There's actually another companion in this town. Ah. Alright. The Amawa wears an assortment of bangles, bands, cuffs, and chains as thick as armor. She watches you with a raised eyebrow and eyes gleaming with mirth. You mean Durgan's battery?
No, but I've heard that name a lot around here. I'm looking for the Abbey of the Fallen Moon. It's an obscure temple dedicated to Andra.
Why are you looking for the Abbey?
I'm a gift bearer. My job is to gather tokens of things people want forgotten and surrender them to the Lady of Lament. Best place to do that is the Abbey of the Fallen Moon.
Gift bearers usually dispose of tokens in the sea. Why are you going to the Abbey?
Well, you throw some things into the sea and maybe they wash up on shore one day. But you want something really good and forgotten, you take it to the Abbey.
She nods. Eder stares at Durrance with a half-crazed look in his eyes, scratching his beard in contemplation. His smile broadens as he thinks. Eder's thinking about having Durrance disappear in the Abbey, as far as I can tell. Oh. She's dual-wielding an axe and a sword. She's not an orc, but she looks like a half orc. But of course, she's an Amawa because half orc's not a thing in this game. She's got teeth. She's got like a bone necklace or teeth necklace, like a warrior headdress. Yep. Well, we just got a monk, and you're not a rogue. You're a barbarian. You're another melee character. They're all melee characters. What do I do? What kind of tokens do you take?
Anything that represents a moment or a memory someone wishes to leave behind. Well, love notes, awkward family heirlooms, bad poetry, the kinds of things you want to forget.
What are you taking to the Abbey now?
The Abbey's all about forgetting. Wouldn't be much forgetting if I told you about it, would there?
I see.
I might be here a while. Half the villagers have never heard of the Abbey, and the ones that have, no one knows where it is.
I mean, it's a place designed to forget things. Seems kind of like it'd be ill-useful if it was easy to track and remember.
So I'm trying to think of this as an extended holiday in a remote mining village that smells like fish.
I've got business in the region. We could travel together.
You won't regret it. I've got a lovely singing voice.
I swear I recognize that voice actor. Pallegina, I miss you and I want you back in the party already. Even though I haven't even done a fight without you yet. She's just really effective. Yep, you're a barbarian. Pallegina. Pallegina. I think I have to remove Aloth in this case. I don't know. I might panic and reshuffle soon. We'll see. I keep switching this party on the fly. It's just... I don't want to give up at main tank Eder boy, the guy that keeps my party alive at all costs forever and never fails me.
Lead the way.
He's so good at specifically not dying. Like, preternaturally effective at it. But we'll see. This is a strange party composition at the moment. But we'll see how that goes. Oh, what do we have here? I'll find it without your help. Not giving up, you hear me? Charlatans, I'll... A dwarf paces with his head down and arms crossed, only stopping to hurl glances at the building beside him. His face is smeared dark with grime, and soot falls from his beard as he mumbles to himself. Work my hands into bloody stumps in this place. And for what? He kicks at a mound of dirty snow. Start with nothing, leave with less. He extends his arm out. Who were you yelling at? At idiots, that's who. And I'm as much to blame for believing them. The dwarf wrinkles his nose, nostrils flaring like a horse. Well, good riddance. Should have never settled here in the first place. Some things you mean to leave behind. Come to find out you packed them anyway. But I'm not leaving until I recover what's mine. They can't deny me again. Not after this. Okran gestures at the burnt-out buildings. Those sweet-tongued priests took our heirlooms. Buried the memory of the past, they said. Now I don't even have that. I take it you gave something of yours to one of Andra's gift bearers. Okran takes his gaze away from the ground and gives you a sideways glance. You're quick. Wish I'd had those wits when they spoke of peace and redemption in the eyes of the goddess. Those priests, Andra's dogs, said the goddess would forgive, that some things are best left to be forgotten. He nods towards the nearby temple. Their leader, Lafta. I believed her words. Another one of them, a gift bearer, took my medallion. He closes his stocky hand into a fist. And now they won't tell me where it is. Your problem is that you give meaning to meaningless objects. Here, let me show you something. I need one of your rings. Okran draws back his hand, and Zawa gives him a trustworthy nod. After a moment's hesitation, Okran relents, dropping a jeweled band into Zawa's outstretched palm. Immediately, Zawa flings it into the lake. See? You are no worse off. Okran's face, already splotched with pink from the cold, turns a deep shade of crimson, and his mouth puckers as though his head were set to implode. After a tense moment, his breathing slows and his fists unclench, his original look of painted frustration returning. Pained frustration. Zawa, you're so not helpful. Also, that was betrayal of trust, Zawa. Just take something from him, throw it into the lake as a response. Like, see, you need to stop caring about things. Here, I'll take more of your things. Huh. What else did you give to the priests? The dwarf casts a measuring look at you. He quickly turns his head away and nods. You'd understand its value. My armor. A set finer than I've ever seen, but worthless to an old dwarf. I'd have traded it for the medallion, but fool that I was, I gave them both. Why won't they tell you? Because they think they know better, that's why. Said it was the only way I'd forget. What did you want to forget about your past? That was a different life. Better days, until... Okran closes his eyes and shakes his head. Motes of soot fall onto his hunched shoulders. It's my burden to bear, not yours. I thought to cast it away, but the memories I lost were all the wrong ones. Maybe there's something I can do. Not the kind of talk that I've grown used to these past few years, I admit. The priests may pretend otherwise, but folks here tend to look only after themselves. I'd be surprised if they return it willingly. They believe it's a sacred duty to cast the offerings to the goddess in some place where they'll be forgotten. Better to find where they dropped them, I think. What's Lafta's role in all this? She leads that group of crows. They took over the temple as folks started to leave. Came to unburden those that sought to forget their misery here, they say. Tell me about this medallion you want to recover. It belonged to my sister. It was just a pretty trinket to her. To me, the dwarf cast his gaze down. She was the last of my family. Least that still acted like family to me. Goodbye. I don't expect luck to grace me now, but if you find anything, I'll be here. Count on it. He gives you a vigorous nod. Well. Sounds like we have a stop to make. Oh. Perhaps if I adjust it like so. Somebody's down here.
Oh,
Ista.
Oh, it's working! Yes! I can't believe it! It's really... Oh.
The dwarven woman looks at you, a disappointed expression on her face. In her hands is a large rectangular box covered in strange dials and symbols. I get that reaction a lot.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be so rude. I'm Ista. I heard we have you to thank for clearing out the ogres. I'm glad Stalwart survived. It would have been a disappointing trip up here otherwise.
And also, people would be dead. But no biggie. What's that device you're holding?
My ore locating divination tool. Well, that's what it will be. I have to calibrate it. Right now it seems to think you're a copper deposit.
Am I wearing a lot of copper? I have a coppery color to me.
My Animancer contacts did suggest that a particular strong soul essence might interfere. I'm more interested in minerals in any case.
She studies you. Maybe I do have a strong soul.
I suppose that's possible. It's not exactly what I'm looking for, unfortunately.
What are you looking for?
I'm I'm trying to recreate the instruments that first led the Pargrin dwarves to this mountain. This is my latest prototype. Centuries ago, dwarves carrying tools just like this one followed their readings to what is now the battery. If I can recreate their work, then I may be able to find ore deposits elsewhere. I was hoping to test it, but my arrival was delayed by word of the ogre attack. I haven't been able to find anyone to venture up the mountain since.
I could go up the mountain for you.
Really? That'd be wonderful. I just have to adjust the device, you see.
Her hands move swiftly over the box, adjusting knobs and dials.
It should point you toward metal deposits. We already know the battery rests on some rich veins, but I was hoping to get a reading of the surrounding mountainside. If you can follow the readings to ore and bring back a sample, I can use it to refine the device. Thanks ever so much for this.
I'm treating this DLC somewhat differently than the main game, mainly in the fact that when I was at Defiance Bay and stuff like that, I wanted to like find a quest, then solve the quest, then find a quest, then solve the quest. Mostly because it was a giant non-linear nightmare web of things. It just seemed like a handy way to handle that, and that's how a lot of the main game works. It's just how open it is. And while I can't be omniscient and know about this stuff in advance, I would generally expect an expansion area to be much more linear. And I get the feeling that's going to be the case. So while they might point me to like 3 different places, for example, but a lot of the stuff amounts to like, hey, can you go up the mountain and do this while you're on your way there to going to Durgan's Battery? So in this case, it seems most reasonable to go try to find every quest I can, because I get the feeling a lot of them are going to basically be solved simultaneously or in parallel with each other while I'm navigating the same environments. And so it would actually just increase the number of trips I have to do if I did them separately, which is usually true anyway, but it was a more reasonable thing before. But yeah, most expansion things I play tend to be much more linear than the base game that they're based around, especially if they go off to a new place. If they exist in the open world of the main game, then they might organically layer a bunch of non-linear stuff everywhere, but if they made a whole new zone for the expansion, it's often split more. The fact that the game is even split between, all the way down to my quest log, is split between part 1 and part 2 kind of further points at the idea of it being split like that. What a name. Kicksettle. A young man dressed in sturdy leathers glares at you. The creases in his face, tanned despite the scarce sunlight of the region, suffer a slight twitch as you approach him. I've got nothing to say to you. I've got nothing for you. Speak with laughter if you must. He turns away, his nose wrinkled. Veins course under this woman's pale skin, like icy fissures yet. When she speaks, her voice flows warm and soothing. Andra welcomes you into her embrace. Her features soften with compassion. We're here to ease the pain of your past, ready to take your burdens. With a thin smile, she nods. If you let the goddess help you with your hardships, of course. Tell me about Andra. Andra's the goddess of redemption. Deep like an ocean and gentle as a mother, she's here to relieve her children of their darkest burdens. We came here to aid the villagers, to heal the wounds of the past that fester in their souls. I thought Andra was the goddess of loss and mourning, not redemption. That's a... The priestess crosses her arms and shifts her weight. Common notion. Others may believe so, but goddesses' mysteries are profound. Her true power lies in redeeming your loss and regret. There's something else you want to talk about. I want to know about the gift bearers. Gift bearers do Andra's most valued work. They carry the material burdens of unfortunate souls into her embrace, so that the goddess may help them forget. I heard that the worshippers of Barath visited you recently. Little happens around here that doesn't end in the mouths of villagers, but we're obliged to assist everyone, regardless of their faith. A group of women came to us. Yes, the leader wanted to know of Durgan's battery. I obliged and pointed them in its direction. They left as quietly as they arrived, which didn't make us any less concerned about their true intentions. This place has grown dangerous enough already. I want to ask you about Okran's heirloom. The dwarf already asked. We gave him the counsel he needed. Slight irritation sharpens her tone. She seems to catch herself, modulating her voice back to a pleasant timbre. And naturally, we'll do what we can for you, too. Ask what you will. Okran wants his medallion back. She brings her hands together and nods. Ah, Okran. How often we let the shadows of the past become a burden even to others. That medallion, it weighs on Okran's mind. You're kind to help, but what he really needs is to cast away those memories. Isn't that for him to decide? He did. He understood the solace that the goddess can give to those like him. It was explained to him that many have second thoughts, but no one does not withdraw something offered to a goddess. But one does not withdraw something. In time, the memories fade, and they come to see the wisdom of their original pledge. His belongings, his past, now rest in Andra's realm, to be forgotten, so that the wounds of the soul may heal. This is the will of the goddess. Her will flows in tides. Maybe Okran still needs the medallion to discover how to forget. For a moment, the priestess scans the floor before her, as if in search of an answer. She nods. You are well versed in the intricacies of our faith. No use in hiding anything from someone like you. There's no need to quarrel over the mysteries of a goddess's will. I'll tell you what you wish to know. Okran's heirloom was built by Ixtli, chosen gift-bearer. Was taken by Ixtli, chosen gift-bearer among us, to be cast away as an offering to Andra. Only he knows where. She pauses and looks at you intently. You could ask him yourself, but he's on a trek through the mountains of Durgan's battery. Because of course he is, because everything is in that direction, basically. If you run into Ixtli, it could be Ishtli, tell him he has urgent duties to attend here. It's hard to believe that only the gift-bearer knows where Andra's offerings are cast away. Is it? Our goddess frees us from our earthly burdens. It's best if only one of us knows where they are taken, lest we all end up suffering under their weight. Tell me about your gift-bearer. Ixtli has business near Durgan's battery. Those mountains are dangerous. If you insist upon carrying out this request of Okran's, then that's where I'd search for answers. Farewell. Well, sounds like we're going up the mountain once again. Peculiar approach to religion. I was expecting the facade to drop and them to reveal, but they probably wouldn't reveal it regardless. But just the idea that like maybe they actually keep the stuff that's being disbanded, because like what? As you step outside, but generally speaking, these wow, they didn't like that. Generally speaking, religions need some kind of funding, so you would think that maybe they just keep whatever they're given. but I was also expecting them to be revealed as being frauds, because I brought out my lore skill and gave them an explanation of their own religion that made them nervous. And multiple times, actually, I brought out stuff where, like, my lore skill was creating a problem for these people, and she seems to be hesitating and thinking and scheming a bit and staring at the floor and thinking around what I was saying and stuff, where it kind of felt like maybe they're, you know, they're lying about everything that they're doing right now, maybe even impersonating this thing, and maybe they are actually trying to just extract value from people. As you step outside, the heavy wooden door of the temple slams shut behind you. You hear someone barring it from the other side. It sounds like the priests have engaged in an agitated conversation. You get the sense that they are discussing you, but you're not certain that the door is too thick to eavesdrop through. No, but you're also certain that the door is too thick to eavesdrop through. Although there may be other places nearby where you'd stand a better chance. I bet they're totally frauds, and I almost revealed them. Oh, can't believe this. How could you? The wooden shutters of the temple's window close tight, muffle a set of voices coming from within the building. You can't quite make sense of the murmur, but cracking a shutter open would likely help. A rusty iron latch holds the window shutters closed. With care, you should be able to unfasten it without being noticed. Risky, risky. Let's try it. You carefully begin to lift the latch from its metal hook. Halfway there, the rusted iron resists with a screech. You freeze, listening to the voices in hopes the priests didn't hear. The conversation continues uninterrupted. Put a little oil on that. I have oil. You grab the latch and apply just the right amount of oil, nudging the metal until its rust gives away without a sound. Carefully, pull the window shutters open enough to let the voices flow through. You hear a man speaking, his tone agitated. You did that? You do that? Hope the mountains will do it? What if Ix... His sentence cuts as if the man were speaking to all sides of the room. Suppose he tells them instead. What then? You recognize Lafta's voice responding. Why would he? And with all those dangers near the battery, our gift bearer won't delay. I expect the man interrupts her. You always expect. Look where that's taking us. A dying village, ogres at the walls. Ixtli's not back yet, and now I have to do his His voice drops and seethes, muffling what he has to say. After a moment, Laughter replies, Do you think I wanted this? That I could have known in advance? A pause ensues, its tension growing until the priest's voice cuts it in half. We can't wait for him. We must fish out the last batch, quickly. After that, we'll decide. The man responds in a broken voice, barely audible. You only distinguish the last words. In that russet wood pond. I'll go. Their exchange seems to end. Cautiously, you step away from the window of Andra's temple. Huh. Find the gift bearer or search the waters of the rusted wood. That was a little hard to parse, to figure out what the hell they were saying. I don't think we want to talk to you yet. I think this is gonna go somewhere. I listened to a private conversation between Lafta and her acolytes. Apparently, they worry for the safety of their gift bearer, Ixtli, during his journey near the Durgan's battery. The priest also spoke of something important to them that's hidden in the rusted wood. I was waiting for the reveal that they're all frauds, but that's not quite what I got from that. But it was hard to figure out what half those sentences were even trying to say. I'm not super confident at the moment. We can put this away at this point, I think. I'm definitely curious. We'll see. Next episode, I need to figure out how to level up Maneha. Another new class to learn. Whoa, you have the highest endurance of any character in the party. Whoa, Durance has more endurance than the other. The tank. Wow. We're having a weird time. Wait, are you guys higher level though? Nope, Edo's level 9. That's not what it is. Yeah. Huh. Not quite what you'd expect.